Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Brendan from River Valley Transit.
That's correct. Hi, Pete.
Sir.
Good to see you again.
Hey, buddy. How are you? Good to see you.
Well, good to see you as always.
What's been new since the last time we talked?
Well, I think we'll delve into it, but a lot of things have been new.
Well, before we dive into it, let's tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with River Valley.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question. And yes, my name is Brendan. I am the transit planner for River Valley Transit. I've almost been there a year now. So
there you go.
I think July 5th was my start date, and it's been a productive year. lots of learning at the job, but I feel like I'm almost a year in now. I've learned a lot and have a lot more to learn, but it's definitely been a great process so far.
Now, how'd you end up down here with River Valley?
Yeah, so I came right out of college. So I graduated last year from UMass Amherst, and I applied, and I was lucky enough to get the gig, and I really enjoyed it so far a lot. I'm very excited.
So what exactly do you do?
Good question. I do a lot of things. It depends on the day.
Exactly.
I like to think of myself as at least a jack of all trades and a variety of things. But what I've been doing a lot recently is I've been talking to a lot of riders, getting their feedback. Mm-hmm. I'll go to public meetings, anything to do with public outreach. I'll help RVT with. I also help design any route changes, any stop changes. I'm basically there to help assist the executive director and basically making sure that we accomplish all of our goals to improve transit service for all of our riders. And so, we're definitely helping implement some of these changes that we want to have happen. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a lot to talk about tonight.
We do.
Where would we like to start?
Well, if I may, I'd like to give a quick plug for our Park Connect program.
Yeah, go for it.
I have here one of our new brochures for Park Connect, and this is an excellent service. This is a partnership with DOT, Deep as well.
Yeah.
It's a great service. What it is we actually have 3 services here for Park Connect in the shoreline area here. It's basically what the goal of the service is to get people to the beaches, get them to the parks, national parks during the summer season. We know that many riders have a hard time getting these locations without a car, and many of our riders don't have cars. So basically, it's a way to make sure people can still get to the beach and still enjoy these great natural resources that Connecticut has to offer.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
And that starts in...
Yeah, so that started. So it goes from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay.
And what's great about it, it's a free service, and I'll tell you a little bit more about each of the services we have here.
Yeah.
So we have 3 main services. The first is our 645 route, which is actually a current route we have that goes from Madison to Middletown that we have right now, and it goes back and forth, and it's a good regional route. And so normally it's a Monday through Friday service.
Yep.
We actually now, with Park Connect program, we have Saturday service, and on that Saturday, it'll actually pull right into Hammonasset Beach. And so as many people know, it's great, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but trying to get into Hammonasset can often be a nightmare. Traffic, parking fills up by, from what I hear, 9, 10 o'clock, it fills up really quick.
Absolutely.
What's great is this operates throughout the day, so even if parking is full, you can still get into the park. By going on the 645, it'll take you right in. In fact, all the routes I'm about to mention all go directly into the park. So it's a great way to still get access to Hammonasset Beach. So beyond that, we also have a Madison shuttle, which basically goes through the Madison Center there by the Stop and Shop and Wall Street in that area, and also goes to the park and ride lots. So what's great about that shuttle is, let's say you don't want to deal with trying to park somewhere in Hammonasset.
Right.
You can park at one of the park and ride lots or somewhere else in Madison. You can use the shuttle, pick you up, get in there, and once you're there, let's say it's dinner time and you want to go get some dinner out on one of the nice local shops in Madison or somewhere.
Right.
Hop on the shuttle, come back in. So it's a great way to make sure you can get in and out of the Hammonasset. It's not just once you're in there, you're not locked there. You can use the service to get in and out, and we actually want folks to do that. And the last service we have is the Clinton Trolley, which is I think our most highly used service for Park Connect.
Which I've seen.
Exactly. That old school trolley. People love it. It's nice to see it driving around. And that'll also go to the Clinton train station, other shopping centers. So people will also use it for that too. But again, that will also go into Hammonasset as well. So it's a great service. And we definitely want to continue. It's sort of a pilot program right now.
Yep.
So the more folks that use it over the summer, likely it will be to continue. So we're definitely encouraging folks to use it. And again, this is a great service that we have. So we recommend folks definitely check out the Park Connect program throughout from Labor Day until Labor Day.
Now with the Park Connect program and all the different shuttles and services, is there a fee?
There is no fee, which is the best fee.
There you go.
And so these services are free for the summer. Again, Deep has been a very good funding partner for us in DOT. So they're definitely promoting this service, and we want to make sure it's accessible to everybody, and that money isn't an issue when trying to get to the beach, right? So it shouldn't be. People have the right to enjoy these natural resources too.
Absolutely.
So it's good. Definitely a great program. We're happy to be partners with.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about some proposed service changes.
Sure. Yeah, so this is a meaty one. This is a lot of information on this one. So I'd say for the past, we're looking at 3-4 months now, we've been doing a lot of outreach for these proposed changes. And so to kind of take a step back and talk a little bit about these proposed changes, these have to do with our route and our schedule changes.
Okay.
So what we're looking to do is tweak some of the existing routes to improve them based on feedback we've heard.
Yeah. This
is all coming from years ago. In about 2020, we completed, along with RiverCog, our regional planning agency, we completed a joint plan, transit study to look at our current, examine our current conditions of where our transit system was and how we can improve it in the future.
Sure.
And so a part of that, we did a bunch of outreach to talk to the riders, talk to other stakeholders to kind of figure out what needs to change to make the system a better system.
Yeah.
A lot works now, but we know that we need a lot of improvement too, make the system better for folks. And so one of the things that came out of it was to improve existing service, right? So we know we have these routes that work well for a lot of people, but there's a lot of room for improvement too.
Yeah.
And so we basically I worked with a consultant, and we developed a series of route changes, which we'll see shortly, I believe, that will go over all of the different feedback we heard to sort of, try and best resolve some of the issues we heard from our riders at the time. And so we've been going through a bunch of public outreach. Just to kind of give you the gambit here, we held 3 public meetings in March. I've done a series of outreach tables. I've done over 7 tables at the Middletown Terminal, Old Saybrook train station, Scranton Gazebo, talking to riders. I've ridden every single bus route, talking to riders, collecting surveys. So we had well over 200 surveys. We had a lot of good survey responses. Yep. And so I collected all. I sort of separated by route, and we go through it and sort of see what the commonalities are, right? See what the common concerns are that we can try and address. And so we took these proposed routes, got feedback on them, and now we're ready to sort of start making some final decisions. So me and Joe, our executive director, and others are now kind of taking all that feedback we got, looking at route times, and sort of finalizing on some of these designs based on the feedback we received. Because we wanted to make sure we talked to people before we did that, right? So we could have just finalized designs and said, hey, we're good enough. We want to do a second round of feedback, talk to folks to make sure we got it right the first time.
And how'd that go?
I think overall it went great. And I think I can tell you for sure, based on the feedback we've received, that we're going to be making some changes based on proposals. So we heard that some people loved the routes we proposed. Some people, they didn't like the routes we proposed. A great example is the 644. So, we're very honest in that route. What that route would do, we heard years ago that we wanted folks to do a faster service than the 644. And that route goes from Old Saybrook to Middletown, very similar to the one that goes from Madison. It's a regional route that gets you from point A to point B. And we heard that people wanted a faster route. And so, or make it faster and more on time, we decided the clients and the consultants developed a design that instead of going through Haddon and Higginham, will go up through Route 9 instead. But what we heard from residents of Haddon and Higginham, they said, hey, what the hell? You're ruining our service. You're taking away our service. And so rightfully, we heard a lot of feedback saying, hey, that's not right. We would rather you keep the service and have a faster route. And so we said, fine, we heard you. And so now we're not going to be doing that. We're going to keep it the way it is to make sure we preserve service on the Haddon and Higginham route, right? And so we're looking for other ways to shorten that route to make it faster. So that's the example of hearing good feedback to make sure, we're happy to hear good feedback, but we also want to hear bad feedback too, so we know, okay, we shouldn't do that, right? So that's why we do this in the first place, so that we make good decisions. On the flip side, one route we've heard a lot of good feedback on is the 641 route. And that's a route that people like a lot. It's a really good route, but it runs right now about every hour, 15 minutes. And so we're looking to change.
Is that the Shoreline route?
That's the Shoreline route. That's the big one down here.
All right.
And so we're looking to shorten that one up and make it even tighter. And so that one we got a lot of positive feedback on. And so there's a wide range, and so we're working to make sure that the end results are good for the rider.
So from what I understand, but just by doing research for tonight, we're actually going to look at the schedules, and maybe we can talk about.
Do a quick little rundown.
Yeah, we can do a quick little rundown.
That'll be fun.
Emily?
That would be fun. All right, so we're going to start in Middletown, which is a great place to start. So one of the things, the big, so I'll give you sort of a rundown of the layout here, what we're looking at. So in the big map you see there, that's the recommended alignments. That's what we're recommending. What's our proposal, right? That's what we're getting feedback on.
Okay.
The smaller map is how the route currently looks today. And it might be hard to sort of gauge where it is, looking from the map. But basically, one common theme in Middletown is right now in Middletown there are a lot of loop routes, which means it's only service in one direction. It's a big, long loop and can often be inconvenient for many riders trying to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Well, a lot of the design motif for a lot of these routes was bidirectional service, which means service on both sides of the street. So instead of a big loop, it comes back one way and goes back the exact same way.
Okay.
So this is a great example of that in the 581. We start in the downtown terminal, go to CVH, then go to Stop and Shop, then we go to the medical centers, the community college, and back to the apartments. We do the exact same thing, but just in reverse now. So now we're going to, the community college, medical centers, Stop and Shop, CVH, and we're back home. So that's that exact same thing where now, if you're a rider, on either side of the street, you can get into town. Before you couldn't. You'd have, if I live, let's say I live on Silver Street, right, and I wanted to get to the downtown terminal.
Yep.
I would basically now, depending on where you were, you'd have to wait and ride the entire route just to get back to downtown. Now you can just wait for it to pick up at the end of the route. So it's a lot more convenient for our riders. So we heard a lot of good feedback on that design idea.
Okay.
And so that's basically the basics for that first route in the 581. The big thing is we would have to remove one portion on Ridge Road there. We heard that not too many people had concerns about that, and overall there was more positive sentiment to the new bidirectional alignment.
Okay.
So it's going to all the same major places.
Right.
Yep, for that one.
All right, let's take a look at the next one.
Yeah, for 582. So 582, I think we were very excited to take a look at because I don't know if you can tell by that small square, but it looks kind of a mess because it kind of is a mess.
Yep.
It kind of loops into all these small neighborhoods, kind of goes all over the place. So we want to look to streamline the route, make sure it still serves the major areas, and also, again, it provides that bidirectional service, that service in both directions.
Wow.
And so we have tweaked, this is a great example too of our feedback. So we heard from a lot of riders that a lot of people get picked up on the corner of Randolph and Ridge Road, and in our proposal, we actually wouldn't go there anymore. But because we rode the routes and talked to people, we realized we do have the time to actually still go there. So now we are going to go there. So we're going to make sure those people still get access to the route. So again, that's sort of a great example of why we do the outreach, to make sure we can hear the concerns, right? We heard people say, hey, I didn't get picked up there, so we're going to make that work for them too. So great example of us still finding a way to make it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so the 583, this is the one that goes to the Washington Street shops, goes to the Big Lots, the Aldi's, the Price Chopper. You might be familiar.
Yep.
In Middletown there. It's a big commercial area. And right now, in the small map there, our current route does this big long loop. It takes a long time to actually get you, like from the time it takes from the terminal to the Washington Street shops is actually pretty long. So we're looking to shorten that to make sure you can get to the Washington Street shops a lot faster. So it'll go through, it's also going to improve Wesleyan access as well. We're going to go through the campus center of Wesleyan and hopefully get some more students to ride the system. And we're also going to go down in there, and it'll still be a much faster way to get you to Washington. It'll be faster point A to point B on this route. One concern we did heard was up in the corner there in the current route, there's an elderly senior center, senior housing called Luther Ridge. So we have heard some concerns that people still want access to there. So we might further tweak this route. Again, all these routes are just proposed. Some of these are being changed, and they've been changed since then, but just sort of give you the idea what the flavor is of these changes. And so for the 584, luckily it's not changing too much as well. This next route, this one goes to Cromwell, goes to some of the shopping centers up there, also goes to the north end of Middletown. The biggest thing here is we wanted to improve the north end access because right now, again, this is a great example of why bidirectional is important. Mm-hmm. Right now, if you live in the north end of Middletown, which is not far from the downtown terminal, it really isn't. But it's far enough. It's a far enough walk. Right. It's not a far drive. But right now, if I was a resident in the north end of Middletown, I wanted to get to the downtown terminal to catch a bus. I would have to ride the entire route, go all the way to Cromwell, come all the way back down Washington Street to get to the terminal. Now, all you have to do is wait for it to come back down, and you can a 40-minute ride becomes a 5-minute ride if you're trying to get there. So it's a much better improvement for people. It's just a much better system, and it's going to be improved north end access, which we're very excited about. Cool. So that one's been also very heavily supported as well, which we like to see. All right. And so for this next one, this one's a very small change. I won't tell too much time on it. The biggest thing is we're going to go a little more on Berlin Road on the way back. Currently, we take right after the Walmart and that little shopping center next to Walmart, we go on the highway. We notice there's a lot of traffic there. This route has a hard time staying on time. So we're looking to actually continue to go on Berlin Road and then get on Route 9 a little bit later. I think we'll save some time that way. So I think we'll hope that route get on time. But it's a great route otherwise. It's one of our most popular routes, so we're not going to change it too much.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's very good numbers in that route as well. Same with the 584, that one also is very good too.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this next one, and it's the 586. This is a tricky route for us to try and fix and plan. This one goes to Portland, East Hampton. It's a rural route.
Right.
The biggest issue with this route is we need to get it to under an hour. Right now it's a hard time. It kind of always goes to an hour, and if it goes beyond an hour, it can't transfer with the rest of the buses. Meaning, if I'm someone,
if you're trying to transfer the bus and it's late, you're pretty
wait another hour. Right.
Exactly.
It's not good. So we want to make sure this bus gets under an hour reliably,
right?
So that it can transfer. So there's at least 5 minutes, hopefully 10 minutes, to transfer between one bus to the next, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're looking to sort of trim the route a little bit. Another big thing too was the route also had an AM routing and a PM routing. So it was one route during the morning, one route during the night. It was a slight difference, but it was still confusing for people. Right. And so we're trying to make sure we're going to have one route throughout the day. It's going to be a little shortened up. Again, this one we still haven't finalized yet. We're still trying to. This one's definitely sort of our white whale in a lot of ways. It's designing it. It poses many challenges. We're trying to preserve as much service as we can, but I think we'll come up with something that's at least better than what's there today.
Absolutely.
And then finally for Middletown is the 590. This one isn't changing much at all. The biggest thing we're going to be changing here is on Saturday. So currently on Saturday it goes to the Merida Mall, and then it goes all the way up to Cromwell to do the 584 and 585 route as well. We're actually going to have it be the exact same alignment on the Saturday, so as it is on the weekday. So it won't go to the mall anymore. It won't go to Cromwell, Meriden. The reason being is the 584, 585 already does that, so it's a duplicative service. And there also are several other Meriden routes that go to the Merida Mall. What that allows us to do as well is it'll shorten the route to make sure we get there on time. Because right now this thing's late. Yeah. Same issue with the 586. It can't transfer, and it's a mess. So getting it to under an hour will also help a lot of routers. And many of the routers we talked to on the bus itself were actually happy about that. They prefer to get there on time than have that. So because there are routes that come every half an hour, Meriden, that will take you to the train. That'll take you right from the train station to the Merida Mall. So we're not cutting anybody off from the mall access. It's still there. So yeah, that's sort of a rundown of the Middletown routes. And again, just sort of a quick rundown. I'll definitely recommend folks, if you're interested in learning more about these changes, and there's still time to comment too, definitely go to our website, rivervalley.org/service changes. rivervalley.org/service changes. There you can also, I did an hour-long video basically talking about all these routes in depth. It was a recording of one of our public meetings. So you can watch that from start to finish. It's about an hour long. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of all of our, which we hope people do, that way you can learn more about that as well. That's sort of a quick overview today to kind of go over some of the changes in Middletown.
Absolutely, and I'm assuming we have other changes we're going to go over a little bit later.
We wanted to kind of break it up so it wasn't too much all at once.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep.
Now let's talk about one of my favorite programs with River Valley Transit.
Yep.
Besides Dial-A-Ride?
Yes.
We're going to talk about Extra Mile.
Extra Mile.
One of my favorites.
I love it. So first I'll give a little overview of what Extra Mile is.
Please.
I'm sure you can also add some experiences with it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Good. Well, I think it's one of my favorite too, so I'm happy you like it too, because it's sort of innovative and it's sort of a new thing. And I really appreciate our Executive Director, Joe Comerford, for investing in microtransit, because when he was doing it years ago, we were one of the first in the state to actually try it. And we've been very successful with it, so I'm very happy from
really?
That. Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're actually only one of 3 providers who actually have microtransit in the entire state, which is pretty cool. So,
wow, all right.
Yeah, so we definitely had a good vision to try it out, and so far it's been successful. So what microtransit is, it's very similar to, I like to call it public transit, Uber or Lyft.
Yeah.
It kind of operates where either through a phone, through an app, really easy to use app, or a phone call, you can request a ride, and then it's on demand. So let's say, right now I could request a ride. As long as it's during its hours, it'll pick me up. It's curb to curb, so it'll pick you up right at where you are and drop you off anywhere you want in a certain zone, right? So it's all in a zone base. It can't go all over Connecticut. It's in a small zone. For example, the one we have here in the shoreline right now is in Old Saybrook and portions of Westbrook and Essex. Right. So you can go to the main town centers of Essex and Westbrook, and all of Old Saybrook is covered in this zone. So if I'm anywhere, let's say I'm at the beach and I want to go to the Stop and Shop, I can request a ride. Right. The driver will come as fast as he can, pick me up, and then he might also pick up other riders on the way. So there's an app that'll tell the driver where to go based on who's requesting a ride at one time. But it's a great service. It's only $1.75. Yep. I don't know if anybody's used an Uber or Lyft before, but I can tell you no ride's $1.75.
No.
I tell you that, you're looking at 10, 20, 30, 40 bucks with one of those apps. We're $1.75, and it's a great experience. We recommend folks at least try it. What we find with Extra Mile too is a lot of folks who typically don't use transit will try Extra Mile and like it, right? So maybe someone won't use the route bus, but the extra mile is pretty convenient. Sometimes folks will use it too.
Yeah.
Let's say your car's in the shop or something else. It's a good alternative to keep in your back pocket to think about too, for extra mile. And so it's a great program. We also have we have a pilot project in Middletown that we did. So we sort of centered it around the Wesleyan campus, get the students engaged, get them downtown, get them to the shopping centers. And that grew very quickly too. We did over 4,000 rides in just 3 months of it starting.
Wow!
It grew like wildfire. We had one Saturday where we had over 150 rides with one driver. So he was busy.
Oh man, he was hopping all day.
So it was almost like, oh wow, we have something on our hands that this is going to be pretty big. So I'm actually pretty excited because it might be able to actually continue funding for that because there's this new statewide microtransit grant.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it because this microtransit grant, so Extra Mile is known as it's a microtransit, which means small, a smaller program.
Yep.
And this on-demand service is sort of synonymous with microtransit. So the state of Connecticut is actually looking to expand this because they've seen not just our success, other transit organizations across the country and the state who've used microtransit to success.
Okay.
So they want to see, it's in these small places here and there. They want to see if we can launch it bigger statewide in more locations.
Right.
And so there was, the legislature passed a bill that was specifically funding for microtransit projects throughout the state,
right,
which could be new extra mile zones for us. And so we applied, and so we've applied for 3 new extra mile zones. So we're very excited. I'll sort of give them a rundown. So this would be new extra mile zones in the area.
Okay.
First, I'll start by saying Old Saybrook zone is sort of, it's safe. It's been funded. It's cemented. But Middletown was not. So Middletown, we used our temporary American Rescue Plan Act funds, as well as a partnership with Wesleyan to continue that. So they helped pitch in as well to make sure we could fund it. So we're looking at, it'd be a 2-year program, so they'd fund it for 2 years with the potential for other additional year extensions. So we could have 3-4 years of service based on this pilot program. And so we've applied for Middletown funding to have really good service hours, Monday through Saturday, with really good service hours. So we expect to see really good ridership from that on. So we'll have funding for Middletown. We're also looking at a new zone in East Hampton. So around the Bell, if people are familiar with the Belltown area in East Hampton.
Yes.
So one of the things that this grant was looking for was microtransit in rural areas. And so what's really unique about our Middlesex County region is we have urban areas, we have rural areas, and we have suburban areas. We have all 3.
Right.
And so we think we're a great testing ground for a lot of these microtransit grants. And so we're having a potential zone in East Hampton, sort of in that, around the lake, around sort of the commercial area down there, the Main Street, the airline trails. We think it could be a nice little service, and so that'll be exciting. Then our big ambitious pitch we put in there for that has it's the most costly, but we think it's also the most impactful, is a massive zone that encompasses all of the town of Madison and all of the town of Guilford. So anywhere in Madison and anywhere in Guilford, a massive zone. We're talking 4 or 5 vehicles servicing the zone at one time, and it would be a massive undertaking. But we think it would be excellent. I think it has all the merit to do that. It has train stations. It has lots of shopping centers. It has good dense housing, and also one thing so we met with the town of Madison. One thing that they were really adamant on is they wanted to improve access to the north end of Madison and the north end of Guilford. For those who don't know, it's a pretty rural area up there. It's a pretty dense suburban area on the shoreline. But once you get up north, it gets pretty rural, and there's no transit services for folks out there.
No.
So there's nothing out there. So if you don't have a car, you're out of luck. And so this service would allow you to at least get to around Madison and Guilford, get you to the grocery store, get you to shops, get you to employment. So we're very excited about this. And again, nothing's set in stone yet. This is all just, we've applied for it. We've heard that our application has been received positively, but nothing has come out yet. So we don't know. But fingers crossed we'll get funding for Middletown, East Hampton, Madison, Guilford, or at least 2 out of 3 or some. We think we'll get something, but what that'll be, we're not sure yet. And so, but if we were to get Madison and Guilford, that would be an even bigger zone than Old Saybrook and North Saybrook zone. It would be our biggest zone yet. And so we're very excited about it. It would require a lot of new drivers and a lot of new things, but we think it'll be well used. So we're very excited about those new zones, and hopefully that'll come true because, like you said, Extra Mile is a great service. I don't know if you have any experience with Extra Mile that you'd like to share, or good, bad, and different.
No, it's a great service. Everybody's super friendly. All the drivers are great, and you got to remember, it's cash only.
Cash only.
You got it.
Or you can use our Token Transit app on Extra Mile.
Oh yeah, that's
so there's a new mobile. There's a new mobile payment option that we've adopted called Token Transit. how it works is you buy like it's like a virtual ticketing app, right? So you can buy, instead of having to go to one of our offices or go to a Stop and Shop and buy tickets, you can instead just buy right on your phone. How you do it, once you buy tickets, you activate them, show them to your driver, and then you're good to go. And so the driver's trained, they know what it looks like, they know what to look for, so it's a smooth process. And one thing I want to highlight too is that actually once you buy your tickets, they don't expire. They stay there. You can buy a monthly pass, no token transit. You can buy one-ride tickets, and they're just in a token. They're in a bank basically. They're not like a wallet, a virtual wallet, and you can use them whenever you want. They only expire once you activate them. So you have to show the driver it's active, right? You can't just because then you can just buy one ticket and use it for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. You have to activate it, and then you'll show the driver, okay, it's good for a while. But like I said, we've actually seen a lot of people use it. So as you know, we were fare-free for about a year, past year. And since the state's brought back fares, we've noticed that since that transition from that year, we see a lot of people using the app now. So a lot of people are gravitating towards going online, going digital with token transit. Right. So it's a free app, and you can buy a ticket. It's the same price ticket, so it's the same thing. We even have we even have occasionally some deals there as well that are even better than what you can get in paper. So it's a good way to get on, and it's fast for us and easy for you. So we like it.
Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd love to.
We'll be right back.
All right, very good.
Not all tax preparers have the same level of experience and training. Better Business Bureau has tips to find the right person to handle your sensitive information. Some preparers can help you with forms and basic matters, but can't represent you in case of an audit. Don't be afraid to ask about their qualifications. If a tax preparer promises you larger refunds than the competition, consider it a red flag. Avoid tax preparers who offer refund anticipation loans, as you'll probably lose a large percentage of your return to commission fees. Find out whether you can contact the tax preparer all year long or only during tax season. Ask about extra fees for unexpected complications, and visit bbb.org to find an accredited tax preparer near you.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Brendan with River Valley Transit. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks very much, Pete.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we're going to open up this segment talking about I guess you guys recently completed a fare study and there's a new fare policy in the pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. And I think last time I was on, we were still doing the outreach for it and talking about it. And so, right. So now we've passed that fare policy. So I'll take a step back here. So for folks who don't know, so what we looked at is as part of the merger of Ninetown and Middletown Area Transit. And now we're River Valley Transit here. I got the new logo here, which is exciting. And so now that we have our new brand, we're all unveiled. As part of that merger, we had to unify that fare structure because Middletown had one fare structure, one cost for their fare, and Ninetown had a different cost, right? So their monthly pass was different than our monthly pass. Really? And so, because before they were different systems, right? Exactly. So they didn't have to play it, But now that we're one system, we had to make sure that we had one price for the entire system, right? So we did that. That was the first thing we did. We also implemented a couple other new fare policies that we were excited to do. So, new things. The first, and I think what I'm most excited about, is a low-income discount. So we knew that, free fares weren't going to last forever. We knew that from that eventually it was going to go away. We're going to go back to a fare. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make sure that folks who are, depend on the system for their jobs and maybe are struggling financially aren't going to be overburdened by the cost of transit. Because for some folks, $1.75 a ride doesn't sound like a lot, but listen, if you do it every single day both ways, you're looking at a monthly pass. That's it's $52.50 for a monthly pass, which for a lot of folks is a lot of money. Right. It's a lot of money for it's a lot of money for most of us. So I mean, you get a good value for a monthly pass, but still, it's not cheap. And so one thing we looked to do is to make sure we were reducing the financial barriers for folks who needed it the most. And so right now we don't have it right now. It's not online right now. Right. But what we're doing is we're going to be working with the Department of Social Services and other state agencies to come up with the best way to determine low-income status. Yep. That might be through a SNAP card, might be through a WIC card, other statewide benefits that are already there. Yes. That way they can just show it discreetly and get on the bus. Or we're even looking at maybe having the state come up with some identification programs. We want to make sure that whatever we do is respectful to our riders. Mm-hmm. It makes it easy for drivers to know that they're low income, so it can be a fast transaction, right? We don't want debates on the bus. We want to make sure it's easy for everybody and also respectful. So we're very excited about that program. That'll do a lot of good, I think. It'll be a half-off discount, so it'll be the same discount for seniors and folks with disabilities who use the fixed route bus. So it'll be a half off. it'll be an extension to that. So we're very excited about that. I'm really happy that the board passed that, and it shows their commitment to folks who are most vulnerable. We also passed, I should say, a thing called fare capping, which is a cool technology. It's going to involve us to get new tech before we can do this. So again, it's sort of a couple of years out because we have to get new tech in order to do it. But basically what it is it's another affordability measure where it basically caps the amount of money you can spend a month on bus fare. So what that means is, let's just say somebody, for example, can't pay the $52.50 up front. They can't get the best deal, but they use it every day, right?
Right.
So let's say they're not buying the monthly pass, but let's say by day 20 of the month, they've spent through 1 ride tickets and 10 ride tickets, they've accrued the amount of money equal to a monthly pass. They no longer have to pay for the rest of the month. So it caps the amount so no one will ever pay more than a certain amount for transit.
Oh, cool.
So that way it'll make sure that you're getting the best deal no matter what, right? So even if you don't buy the monthly pass, you still won't have to pay much more than that because it'll cap it after a certain number to say, okay, you've hit a certain threshold for the month, the next 5 days or whatever it is, until the next month, you can ride as much as you want. It's to make sure that we're not overpaying, people aren't overpaying in a way for transit. It caps at a certain reasonable limit. And then finally, our last thing we did is we made, for folks who are ADA eligible, they can now ride the fixed route bus for free. So if they are eligible under ADA, if they're ADA eligible, they can ride the fixed route bus for free. That was to make sure that, there's a couple reasons for that. The first is, some folks recover, let's say that it's a temporary ADA, maybe they've had a leg surgery and they're down for a year or two, but they're back up eventually. Right. It allows them to then use the service. It's also a cost savings for us as well, because if folks can use a fixed route bus, it'll help us alleviate to make sure we have enough vehicles to make sure they can serve the people who can't use it. So it's a win-win for both people. It's free service for folks if they want to use it, but it's also a cost-saving measure for ETD as well. So it sort of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. But again, I want to reiterate, of course, ADA is still available for anybody who's ADA. If you're ADA eligible, you don't have to do this. It's just an option. If you want to take the fixed route, you can still use the paratransit. It's the same rules as always. But if you feel up to it, you can use the ADA for free on the fixed route, which is pretty exciting. So we're working on this. I'm not sure who've actually implemented it yet. I'll have to check in with that. But I know that's at least been passed, so it will be, if it's already not in place, it'll be in place soon, that policy as well. So these policies we were very excited about, and they've been in the books. But what's been really cool is we invited DOT and CT Transit to sort of get involved in these conversations. And they bit. Yes. They love the idea. They love the idea of doing a fare study. Not many other transit agencies in the country, let alone in Connecticut, have actually had a fare study, taking an actual time to robustly look at their fare policies and take a deeper dive on them. But for so long, the mantra's been, let's just raise it a quarter every 10 years for inflation. Oh. It's kind of a silly way to look at it. We don't actually like for example, the loan, that's a policy tool. That's to improve access for people who have heart. So being more deliberate about how we set our fares was important to us. And now the DOT has jumped on board, and now we have a statewide fare study going on. So the DOT loved it so much, they loved their fare study, like their consultant. Now there's a statewide fare study. What that aims to do is have the state of Connecticut to have basically one unified fare structure for the entire system. Right now, I think there's over 13 different transit operators, CT Transit, all these crazy different, there's different prices, different monthly pass prices, different technology. The end result of this study is to have one set fare, or at least a unified fare, for the entire state of Connecticut, and compatible technology, so that whatever we decide to do, whether that be contactless payments through your phone, through a debit card, every single bus in Connecticut can do that. That's the end result. That'll take time, that'll take planning, but I think it's really ambitious for both, for DOT to do that. So I think we're very excited to see the state of Connecticut. It's a small state, we can have one fare structure for the entire state, and that'll make it so much simpler for our riders. I can't tell you how many times we have someone calling us saying, hey, I'm trying to get on this CT Transit bus and they're turning me away with my monthly pass when they thought they could use it, or vice versa. Someone wants to try and get on our bus, but we can't accept it. So this will allow us to have a much more coordinated policy so that riders can seamlessly go from one system to the next without having to worry about, do I have the right ticket? Do they take my transfer? It'll be a much simpler system for everybody. And so it's a really good study, and it'll take some time, but when it's done, I think it'll result in a much smoother system. And we're trying to also loop in rail as well to get the rail involved as well.
Really?
So we're trying to make it as seamless as possible. We'll see where it goes, but we're very excited about that study as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, from what I understand, Remember the first segment we talked about the route proposals and
Yes.
showed the slides?
Yes.
We've got some more slides to go
Let's go
through.
back. So we want to take a break. Let's get back into it.
Let's go back to
Let's
the
delve into
slides.
it. Yes, that sounds
So
good.
let's see where we're going to begin.
Yep. So now we're going to talk about the shoreline. So
right.
what was previously Ninetown Transit, right? So we just looked at what was previously Middletown Area Transit. Now we're previously Ninetown Transit.
Right.
So to start it off, some folks might be saying, well, what's the 640 route? I've never seen that route before. Well, good eye, that's a new route. So we're looking at a new route to the system. And there's a couple of reasons why. The biggest reason, though, actually has to do with our schedule change. So I want to talk about this for a little bit. And we can keep this up because it's good to explain it.
Yes,
so,
please.
Right now, Old Civic train station bus stop is sort of our regional hub. It's kind of like our Middletown terminal where all the buses come in.
Yes.
As you might know, right now they don't meet very well. They don't line up. So the 641, 44, 42, and 43 all meet there, but they meet at different times. So if I'm trying to transfer from one bus to the next, I often have to wait an hour plus.
Right.
So if I'm coming in the 41, want to get in the 44, for example, that could be an hour-long wait. And if you miss it, that's even longer. So it's not synced up right now. It's out of sync.
Right.
So the biggest thing we're trying to do is have the Old Civic train station become our terminal where all 4 buses, the 41, 42, 43, and 44, will all meet at the exact same time, line right up next to each other, so that one person can go from one bus to the next on the top of the hour. So it'll be a much better system, kind of like exactly how it is in the terminal, where all 7 buses meet.
Okay.
It'll be all 4 buses meet right then and there. So we think that'll be a much better system for our riders. That's been by far one of the most popular things we've proposed. People down there love it because a lot of folks use the service to get down there. They take one bus, get to another bus. They transfer, right?
Right.
And so now this will make transfers infinitely smoother than they are today. Right now, it's in pretty rough shape, the transfers. So this will make it a lot better, and it'll be a much smoother system for everybody. In order to do that, we have to trim up some of the routes to make sure they get there on an hour. Because if you're on a pulse system like we're proposing here, if one of the buses is late, they can still lose the transfer opportunity.
Yeah.
Everything has to be on time. And so what we're looking to do is have this new 640 route. So when we trim up some of the other routes and make them smaller, if I could just go back to the 640 for a little bit longer, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, let's go back to the 640.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So that one, with this new route, what it'll allow, we'll trim up some of the other route changes to make sure that the 640 can pick up some of their slack. So, for example, the 641 and 43 are going to get smaller, and they're going to go to some of the places in Old Saybrook. This new 640 route will then pick up those places, so there'll be no service lost. Okay. So it'll still preserve that. Additionally, this route will also go to the Old Saybrook. There's like an industrial complex where there's a lot of employment opportunities, near the bus station, near the Stop and Shop back there. So we'll go down there, as you can see in the map, and then we're also going to go down past the beaches, Harvey's Beach and all that, go up to Saybrook Point, go back up to the senior center, and come back around. So it'll be a nice little small route as well that'll improve access for folks in Old Saybrook. So yes, I wanted to just go over that route as well. That's a really important piece of the puzzle here. It's a new route, but it also will allow us to have that awesome new schedule change. So it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Excellent.
So it's kind of confusing, I know, but it's definitely important for the route.
That's okay.
Yep.
We got it. We're going to take a look at the next route.
Yeah, so the 641. So as I was mentioning, we want to get this route to under an hour.
Yes.
Right now it's an hour and 15.
Yeah.
And so we knew we had some time savings initially because right now this route often has a lot of time, it often waits at certain stops for a lot of time. So we knew we could speed up a little bit there. We also had to slim it down a little bit. So our first plan is we're going to keep the Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
We want to start the Stop and Shop, but we're not going to go to the Old Civic Senior Center. That new 640 route will pick up that slack. So there'll still be service there, but the 641, it's not going to go there. What we're also looking to do, we haven't finalized this yet, but we need a little more time to make sure we get there.
Sure.
What we're looking to do is we've noticed that the Westbrook Outlet Mall has been sort of, no one really picks up on there anymore. There are very few people who use it. I've talked to the drivers, I've talked to passengers, they all agree. But we didn't want to outright eliminate it because it's still, it's still a mall and it's still a spot. We see a lot more people use the Clinton Crossing Mall though.
Oh yeah.
As I'm sure you know, locally, a lot more traffic there than there is at Westbrook Outlet Mall. That being said, what we're looking to do is to save some time, we're going to have the routes alternate to where they go. So the eastbound route will go to the Westbrook Outlet Mall, and the eastbound route will go to the Westbrook Outlet Mall. The westbound route will go to the Clinton Crossing Mall. So they'll only go to one each, but you'll still be able to get there however you want. But it'll allow the route to get there under an hour. So one way it'll go to one of the outlet malls, the other way will go to the other outlet mall. So you can still figure out, it'll be on the schedule. You'll see, it sounds confusing, but you'll still be able to get there in a decent amount of time. But just make sure that the route can get there in under an hour.
Absolutely.
And so I've timed it. I think we're looking at like 47, 48 minutes, so we're looking pretty good. It'll make sure there'll be enough time for people to also make the transfer at the 201. So one of the other concerns we heard on this route was, hey, I use the Scranton Gazebo to get to the 201 to New Haven.
Yes.
That connection will still be preserved under this new change too. So if folks are worried about that, you'll be good on this route too in there as well. So we think it'll be a small tweak. It'll still go to the same place it's used to going. It's our most popular route by far on the shoreline, so we're not going to touch it.
Okay.
And we've also talked with Vista as well to make sure it works for them, make sure it works for their students as well. So it should be a really good route, and I think it'll be much better for the system. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Then we got the 42 coming up next.
What's the next one?
Not too many changes on this one. The biggest thing we're looking to do, right now there's an optional you can request going to Ivoryton.
Okay.
We're looking to remove that, not to be mean, but just because we need this route to be on time.
Okay.
Once someone requests that Ivoryton branch, it immediately is late. And if we're doing this new pulse system, we need to make sure it's on time.
Yeah.
And that's really critical, because if it's late, then you lose the transfer opportunity.
Yeah, you blow your transfer off.
Right, you blow your transfer. So that one's changing a little bit. It's also not going to go to the old Saybrook Point. That new 640 route will go to Saybrook Point. So it'll be a little short of a route, and it'll get you there from point A to point B a little faster. So that also is another good route too, but still going to the same places.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 43. So this one we also heard a lot of negative feedback on. So in the proposed change, which I think is justified, if you look at the recommended alignment, we were basically planning to circumvent Old Lyme and go and stay in 95. Have it sort of be more of an express service between Old Saybrook and New Lynn. A good idea,
yeah.
But a lot of people use Old Lyme, get on Old Lyme and get off Old Lyme, so we don't want to remove that. We talked to some of the riders. Everybody I talked to said, hey, I use that sometimes. And
yeah.
So we said, okay, we're not going to touch that. So what we're looking to do instead is we're still going to go down by Old Lyme, but we're going to turn onto the highway a little later. So we'll still change the route a little bit, you'll see, but it'll still preserve service to Old Lyme, because that was one of the things we heard. So again, that feedback being important again, that's why we did the feedback, so we can make these changes here. But it should be a little faster for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 644. So again, like I said, this is, as I mentioned earlier, we got the most negative feedback on this one, and also the most feedback, which is good.
There you go.
We'll take any kind of feedback. It's important to us. On this route, as you can see, in the recommended alignment, it would circumvent Haddam and Higginham, and instead stay on Route 9.
Right.
So we heard loud and clear. We got the message. We're not going to do that.
There you go.
We're going to keep that the old alignment where it goes through Haddam and Higginham.
Yeah.
We're also right now looking at maybe playing with some of the parking rides to get that a little faster. Right now, the issue with this route is it does run late. And so if we're doing the pulse system at the shoreline, we want to make sure it gets there on time. So we're trying to just trying to save a little time here and there, but we're not going to touch Haddam and Higginham, so everybody's good there. And we're not going to remove any service from any areas. It should be the same. But we're going to try and find ways to save a little time here and there if we can,
right.
To make sure the route gets on time. But we heard loud and clear that's a no-go for Haddam and Higginham. So we heard loud and clear, which is good.
Absolutely.
And then the 645 is our final route here. This one is not changing. It's changing very, very, very small amount. The biggest thing is we're looking to have the route go on 95 a little bit instead of through Clinton when it starts.
Yep.
To save a little time there. So it'll be a little faster, because again, the biggest issue with this route is time.
Yeah.
Like the 44, it's time. You're going from Madison to Middletown. It's a long distance for an hour route. And so often this thing will come in hot at 55 minutes, 60 minutes. It comes in pretty hot sometimes, and it's hard to get it on time. That will give us a couple extra minutes and maybe make it more possible to get there on time. So it'll allow it to be a little more on time, which is good. So
now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody gets on the route bus.
Yes.
And is going to gets off at the stop. They say to the driver, "Hey, I need a transfer."
Okay.
Do the transfers expire, or are they good all day?
It's a good question.
See?
You got me. I know they will give you a transfer.
Right.
And then I believe there is a time component to the transfer.
Is there a time
I
limit?
believe there is.
Okay.
Again, I could be wrong. I believe I think that half an hour seems familiar to me.
Okay.
So once you get off the bus, you have half an hour to get on there, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
RiverValleyTransit.org is going to be your best bet.
There you go.
We'll have information there. So
there you go.
I'll defer to that.
All right, let's defer to that.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about bus terminal and technology upgrades.
Sure thing. So I think I also talked about this last time, and I'm sad to say I have to talk about it again today because it should have already been done. But we've had some delays, but finally, we're getting there. Our vendors finally shipped us our equipment, and so we're going to be installing it, some of it this month and some of it next month. But again, I'll give you a refresher as well, because what we're looking to do is improve the terminal in Middletown, Old Saybrook, the train station stop that I was mentioning for the new scheduling, and then the Scranton Gazebo in Madison, which is also a pretty big transit stop. So the biggest changes are coming to Middletown. We're going to be adding 2 outdoor electronic signs that'll tell you the real-time information of the bus routes.
You were telling me about this last
Yeah,
time we
that's
were
exactly,
together.
yeah.
That's right.
So that's going to actually, finally, they've actually shipped us that stuff.
There you go.
It's coming in, so it's going to be installed, so hopefully we'll see it in the next month or two. And so for riders, they'll see the real-time information, see, the 551's 5 minutes away, and they'll see it coming in. It'll tell you if it's late, if it's on time. It'll give you a lot of information.
Cool.
We also have a new indoor monitor for the terminal. So not only will it show that same information, the real-time information, it can also have service announcements if there are issues or anything like that. And even some content as well. It'll show like some news content, or we can customize that. So it'll be a nice little upgrade for folks who are waiting for the bus.
Oh.
And I think the coolest thing is we're having an outdoor 7-foot-tall kiosk in the Middletown terminal that'll have a map of the routes with the same real-time information, and you can see it coming in real time. You can see it, icon of the bus and where it is. It'll be pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot, like big cities. You'll see things like that. So we're getting one of those for the terminal. We just figured it fit well. That'll be a big benefit for riders as well to kind of see where it is. And a lot of our riders will be outside.
Right.
So they can still see it outside, and also be ADA accessible as well. So it'll be a good device. And we're excited. That might be a little. We had to wait. That's the biggest holdup right now, is that kiosk being made sort of in development, stuck in development. But it'll be out soon for us. And then finally, in the Scranton Gazebo, and the Old Saybrook Terminal, we have these really cool. They're smaller. They're about maybe the size of that page, maybe a little bigger than an 8x11, roughly that size. And what they do is they again show that real-time information on a smaller screen, so you can see the 641's coming in 5 minutes. And we're also going to get the 201 on all the connections all the services we partner with. We're going to get those connections too. So you'll see not only our routes, but also CT Transit's routes as well. So you can see, it'll work for everybody. And that will also be, those are cool. They're battery operated, so they're really small. They're battery operated. You can turn them on to get it, and they're very sleek and very cost effective for us to put up there too. But they provide that same information that you need. So if you don't have your smartphone, you can still see when things are coming in. So it'll be good for our riders, we think.
Cool.
Yep. So oftentimes, where's the bus? Where is it? You can see, it's 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
So before you freak out, you can see, okay, it's coming. Or you can see, oh wow, it's really late. I bet I'm gonna make other plans. So it'll give you more information.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I've got a question for you, but we're going to talk about the bus rebranding update before I ask you.
That sounds good. And before, actually, I'm going to touch it as well. So I talked about the terminal upgrades. Speaking of buses, talk about some of the bus upgrades too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so those are pretty cool. So I'll say this, on the customer-facing side, the biggest thing is we're going to have some new signs in the buses.
Okay.
So in the big Gelly buses, you'll see, the now approaching, and it'll have all the information on there. And I think the cool thing too is all of our buses will now have AVA, which is automatic voice announcements. So when you approach a major stop, it'll say, now approaching, Clinton Green. So it'll that classic thing you hear, the MBTA or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of our buses already have that, but now they all will have that. And so we've programmed all the stops and all that, so it should work pretty well. And we'll test it out. We might have to add some, remove some to make sure. We don't want it to be triggering every 5 seconds. It'll drive everybody insane. No. But we'll hit the major
including
stops.
the drivers.
Right, exactly. I hear it all 8 hours a day. It's going to be rough. But so we're going to try and make sure it's the major stops people need to know about, right? So if we're approaching the Scranton Gazebo, you'll hear that. The big stops, you'll hear it.
Clinton crossings.
Right, exactly. The big ones, the time points, you'll hear it on there, and so we wanted to make sure. But it's nice to know if you're not familiar with the system, you're new to the system. It's a good reminder. Yeah. And so that'll be nice. And for what I'm excited about is we'll have these new things called automatic passenger counters. They put them on the doors and all that, and so whenever somebody gets in, it counts the passenger. So what's good about that is we already have counts. We already have a good handle on how many people we have.
Right.
But what it'll do for me, it'll see where people are getting on. So right now we know how many people use the system, but we don't know where they get on the system. Right. We have an idea. We know from drivers, we know some stops are busier than others, but now we'll have data to say, okay, this stop gets a lot of people or doesn't get a lot of people. Right. And that'll be really important for us for planning in the future to know what are our most popular stops, what stops need improvements, what stops aren't getting a lot of ridership, how can we improve that, right? So it'll be very valuable for me and Joe to help plan in the future to better improve the system. So we're very excited about that.
Okay.
That'll be cool for us on the planning side. But customer-facing side, the AVA will be pretty nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got besides bus rebranding.
Oh, I can talk about that too. So
right.
I think we were talking before this too about
Yes.
the new buses coming out, and so hopefully some folks have seen the new buses out there. I think we have about 4 or 5, rewrapped with our new logo and new design. We hope you guys will like it.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? Okay,
Nope.
okay. Well, we'll have to try and arrange something that so you can see it.
All right.
Because it's pretty cool. We have one Gillig, one of the big buses.
One of the big buses,
wrapped.
yep.
I think we have around 4 of the small shuttle buses wrapped.
Like the dial-a-ride buses.
Yeah, the dial-a-ride buses, exactly. Sort of the typical, smaller buses you see driving around town. Those will also get wrapped with their new branding. We like it a lot. It's similar to the 9-Town logo. It's a little different. I think it's a little modern, a little nicer.
Okay.
And that logo, that branding is going to be done. We're continuing to get that done. It does take a while. It's handcrafted. So actually, the vendors we have are right next to our location in Centerbrook, and they've done a great job. Though it takes a long time. But you see why when you see it. It's all the details. We have lots of color variation. It's a complex design.
Really?
And they do a great job. They really nail it. And so it's taking some time. What I'll say too is in the fall and winter, we're getting a bunch of replacement buses. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to come pre-painted so that we won't have to wrap them. I think we'll have like 14 new buses and they'll be ready to go. So I think you'll start to see a lot more of the new branding coming out soon. And then some of the old buses we have that maybe have a year left in their life, we're not going to bother rebranding because we want to spend a couple $1,000s on.
No.
You know what I mean? So, and also some of the things we're going to be doing too is sort of temporary rebrands. It won't be the entire new design, just sort of a strip across the center.
Yep.
So it's sort of a patchwork design, but soon enough you'll see a lot more of the River Valley Transit buses walking around. It's the same buses, the same drivers, but it's nice to see the new logo and the new
logo,
branding and all that.
exactly.
So it's kind of nice to see that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, from personal experience, the EcoLane app is awesome.
Is it really?
Oh,
That's great. That's for our ADA services as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I hear good things too.
yeah, you can book
Yeah.
it because I book. I don't even have to call in to book
Right.
anymore. I just
Exactly.
and you can only
Right in the
book.
app.
You can book up. You can only book up to 2 weeks in advance.
Yes, and that's why I like to have that too. I mean, some folks they like to use the call-in option. They're not comfortable with smartphones, and that's fine. We have the
Right.
call-in option, but we always promote the online app version because
Yep.
it can often be easier for whether that's EcoLane for ADA, whether that's our TransDoc app with Extra Mile. It's often easier to do
Yep.
on the app if you can navigate it.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you can't, you can still call in too, right? So we know some folks don't have smartphones.
Yep.
Or they just don't like using their smartphone, that's fine too. We definitely like folks, if they can, to use those apps because it's easier for us. And also make sure that the call lines are open for folks who do need it too. So it definitely helps. But again, we definitely are open to accommodate anybody to make sure that they can use the services we use. So
The TransLoc app is easy to use too because
It
I
is.
use that when I do Extra Mile.
the Extra Mile, and we have a new. I can talk about this too. We have a new vendor for Extra Mile services, so there'll be a new app.
Oh, good.
So I know, right? Another app, right?
Oh, excellent.
But I'll tell you this: as good as the TransLoc app is, we did have some problems with it, especially in Middletown. So we're having to give a new vendor coming in,
Okay.
and they're sort of state of the art. They're very great. They're sort of the top of the food chain when it comes to microtransit apps. So
Okay.
you have a lot of new features from the app. A great example of that is in a TransLoc app, all you see is the Extra Mile. You don't see any other routes, right? You just see the Extra Mile.
Right.
In this new one, you'll also get an option to use other routes too. So it'll tell you what's the fastest option. So let's say, for example, you're in Route 1, right? We have the 641 bus that goes by. So you might request the ride in the Extra Mile, but I might say, hey, just so you know, the bus is coming by in 3 minutes. You might as well take the bus. It's going to where you want to go.
Right.
So if you put in the pickup and the destination, it'll tell you what the best option is. Now you can still say, no, I want to take Extra Mile. That's fine. But it'll say, hey, just so you know, there's a bus coming by in 5 minutes. You might as well take it. It'll be faster than, hey, we're booked up right now in Extra Mile. You might as well take that. So it'll provide you that multimodal connection where you can see all of our other routes in tandem. It'll especially be useful in Middletown too, where we have 7 different routes. You can see what'll be better, right? So sometimes it might say, hey, it might be better to take the bus. And you can still take the Extra Mile if you want. You can still override it, but it gives you a nice option to see what's out there.
Cool.
And it's an easier design, easier to start up. It's just a better app, I will say.
Brandon
Yep.
from River Valley Transit. We're out of time, my friend.
Good to see you.
We'll see you soon.
Absolutely, that sounds
Got
good.
it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
On behalf of Brandon from River Valley Transit, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night, and we'll see you next week.